Hello, viewers. I am glad to have you on Editorial Thought. I am Coach Raphael. Is it true that His Excellency, Mr. Peter Obi, has fallen from grace? Recently, Kogbara, an international journalist and supposedly former supporter of the Obedient movement, spoke ill of the 2023 Labour Party presidential candidate in a commentary she delivered during an interview on Arise television.
It is Peter Obi himself. I just don't understand how somebody who was this sparkling, inspirational figure who created a movement almost overnight, galvanized the youths, the intellectuals, anybody who had any iota of principle in their bloodstream, at least admired him to some extent, even if they weren't necessarily going to vote for him for whatever reason. I don't understand how Peter Obi has gone from there to there, because as far as I'm concerned, he's like a firework that has turned into a damp squib. He's become so pedestrian. All I see is him making anodyne statements here and there on TV, wearing babariga and going to donate boreholes in Kafanchan or wherever. It's all good stuff. He's still a good guy. But where is the leader that the opposition needs so desperately? And he's not looking like it. In fact, if you look at I accuse the entire opposition, the PDP, for allowing itself to be derailed by my dear friend Nyesom Wike, by the way, I saw him a couple of months ago, and I told him, if I was a PDP Mandarin, I'd have tossed you out by now. So the PDP, j'accuse. I accuse Atiku of spending more time, all this manana, Dubai type of big man type of thing, not really effectively taking on the government. And I blame Peter most of all, because Peter was a shining star. And so many people committed themselves to him emotionally, myself included. I'm not an obedient anymore, to be honest with you, because he's such a disappointment. I mean, there's no aggression. The government is lousy. I mean, pretty much the only good thing I can think that Tinubu has done is keep herdsmen at bay, because I've noticed there hasn't been any herdsmen shenanigans since Tinubu came in. So I congratulate him for that, if indeed it is his, But it's kind of like, there's so many things this government is doing wrong. Contracts being awarded without due process, economic collapse, rampaging inflation, widespread hunger and disillusionment. And, you never hear anything seriously punchy from Peter.
Well, in fairness to Peter, there is a lot of stuff that he comes up with, a lot of it on social media. I mean, he doesn't go on traditional media most of the time. That's relatively rare, except when he's sort of maybe at a public event or something. But he does come up with a lot of things challenging the government on social media. The question
he's too mild,
that you're raising
Charles.
Is whether it's effective enough.
He's too mild.
Yeah. Well,
you see,
he should go more for the jugular, basically.
He should go. He's got so much. There's so much he could go for, and he would get so much public support if he did. I'm not just speaking for myself, by the way. I'm speaking for hundreds of obedience, ex-obedience, or current obedience who are really, really disappointed in him. We don't want a weak opposition leader. He's the star of the show. Atiku, PDP, they should also be doing more. But really, Peter is the star opposition player, and he's not doing well.
Kogbara's somewhat long speech could be encapsulated in one statement. Obi has gone from top to bottom. By her own account, inabilities to mount an aggressive opposition to the present government and to address the conflict in the Labour Party are responsible for Obi's fall from grace. Then, she noted a number of high-profile defections in order to support her contestation. She holds that Obi is no longer living up to expectations. In other words, many of his supporters have become disillusioned. Obi is no longer a shining star, according to her. As much as Kogbara's speech is fundamentally fallacious and baseless, her whole commentary is questionable when she believes herself to be a former supporter of the Obedient movement, regardless of the role played initially. Anyone who claims to have left the movement was not part of it in the first instance. Yes. To be a part of an organization is to learn, understand, and assimilate its philosophies and principles, which in this context are derived from Obi's life. By implication, Obi should be disillusioned with the defectors, not the other way around. He is consistently keeping his principles. It is ridiculous that an individual of Kogbara's intellectual status was initially unable or unwilling to comprehend the overall philosophy guiding the obedient movement. Perhaps defectors like Kogbara initially wore a facade of an obedient member, but at a deep level of their psyche lay some motives which were in conflict with the core principles of the movement. These principles, which could be described as Obi's cardinal virtues, are industry, discipline, nonviolence, and humanity. They are called cardinal virtues because they feature most prominently in the person's life. It simply means that they govern a person regardless of time, place, condition, and including the case of Labour Party crisis. Should a situation requiring change arises, the bearer of the virtues will always make adjustments within the bounds of the foundational principles. This is what Peter Obi epitomizes. So, when Kogbara contends that Obi has failed to meet expectations, she throws up a confusion as to what kinds of expectations she has in mind. She has failed to provide concrete steps and actions she would like Obi to adopt. Perhaps she communicated her thoughts to Obi when he visited her, coming on the heels of her Arise TV interview. Be that as it may, Kogbara used certain terms such as pugilist and aggression to describe the person she would like Obi to become. A pugilist is simply a boxer or a fighter. Let's say Kogbara wants Obi to adopt the same spirit as Raila Odinga, the Kenyan opposition party leader who has severally and openly called for protest against the government of William Ruto, leading to his many-a-time arrest. Odinga has been leading the main opposition party since 2013, but unable to win the election. So, supposing Obi adopts Odinga's strategy, he would remain stuck as an opposition. If the duty of an opposition leader is merely to verbally criticize the government, supporters of the opposition should be poised to meet another monster when the opposition mistakenly slides into office. Conversely, the most powerful tools in the hand of the opposition leader are the cardinal virtues Obi exudes. Even what makes him outstanding is that he has been able to mix criticisms with these virtues. An observant person knows that Obi hardly keeps mute at ugly events such as electricity failure, insecurity, and other social ills, but continually lashes at the government. Just in early December, Obi visited a school and said this about the government.
So everybody, and you can go on and on. And what they give is the excuse. So you must use the measures other people use. Let nobody tell you Nigeria is a poor country. It's a very rich country. It's a country that can feed itself. Today, Ukraine is at war. But Ukraine sent grain to Nigeria to help them fight hunger. Because we are number 109 hungriest country in the world. You must help to change that. All these territories you're seeing are agricultural field. So they tell you about Sambisa Forest. It's an agricultural field. It's a very simple thing. I don't think it will take you more than 3 hours or 4 hours to drive all through the Sambisa Forest. But I can tell you that if you go to Morocco today, from Casablanca to Port of Tangier, it's about 366 kilometers or thereabout. And it takes you 4.5 hours. And on both sides, all you will see is cultivated land that will feed the people. We can't have such places threatening us. It just shows we don't have competent leaders. We have capacity, we have compassion, we have vision to be able to do anything.
One of the most recent disturbing events is the series of stampedes recorded in some parts of Nigeria. It is instructive that the stampedes were caused by hunger imposed by the government and political class. Having taken cognizance of this, Obi made a tweet where he strongly linked the ugly event to the errors in governance. Now, are these criticisms not proof of constructive aggression as against the destructive violence Kogbara might be hoping for? Moreover, the punchiest side of Obi's opposition tactics is the daily visits on which he embarks from educational institutions to hospitals to markets to the grassroots. Obi has consistently been identifying himself with every tribe in Nigeria in good faith. There is no opposition tactic more impactful than dealing squarely with the practical socio-economic issues that the government is neglecting. In mid-October, during a trip through Kogi State, Obi encountered a severe traffic jam caused by protesting trailer drivers. The drivers had blocked the road in response to an axe incident where a police officer allegedly shot a tire of one of their trailers. Upon reaching the scene, Obi stepped out of his car and engaged directly with the frustrated drivers. His calm demeanor and hands-on approach quickly diffused the situation. And what happened? The drivers, impressed by his humility and leadership, cleared the road, allowing traffic to, resume. So this act of intervention earned him widespread praise and admiration from travelers and onlookers. Peter Obi has not gone from top to bottom. Instead, he has continued to soar high. Every place he visits, Nigerians erupt into a frenzy of joy. Obi is neither cold with the government, nor does he desire to use destructive tactics, but he employs a kind of strange and unconventional middle ground that people like Kogbara tend to misconstrue as weakness. That is the way I see it. To give you an instance, following the sham elections of 2023, Obi's call for calmness and prayer coincided with similar calls by church and traditional rulers. But it is important to note that the motivations behind the two calls were basically different and even conflicting. Church leaders and traditional rulers informed their congregations that nothing occurs without God's consent, urging them to accept the election results. Now, this call for acceptance was rooted in passivity, or what Martin Luther King Jr. referred to as acquiescence. However, passively accepting an unjust system equates to cooperating with it, and that is not the solution. In contrast, Obi did not accept the election results and instead pursued legal avenues to reclaim his mandate. Consequently, his appeal for calm was rooted in non-violent resistance.
I'm very respectful to prominent Nigerians, especially church leaders, traditional rulers, and all that. And I remain very respectful to them. And I think they should be respected for what they represent in our society. But I disagree with them. What they're actually preaching is the problem of Nigeria. The problem of Nigeria is accepting wrongdoing, accepting what is unacceptable. That is using God's name in vain. That's not what God said. God said, do not use my name in vain. So what they're saying is not God's wish. It is not God's plan for Nigeria. So why don't we accept that the 133 million Nigerians who are poor is God's wish? Why don't we accept that 95 million Nigerians living in absolute poverty is God's wish? It is God's wish that we don't have electricity. It is God's wish that our children are kidnapped. It is God's wish that we have collapsed primary health care, leading us to be the country with the highest infant mortality. It is everything happening. It's God's way. Not what God says. No. God's wish is when you do the right thing. And in the end, it is not. This election was predicated and planned. And we have clear laws about the conduct of the election. If it was followed, if these results were uploaded from the boots, pulling units, like they said, to the server and everything, we won't be here. I won't be talking about it. It would have been concluded in a matter of hours without anybody arguing about it. But it is not God's wish that you do the wrong thing. It is not God's wish that you go and rob a train and make money and start sharing it. It is not God's. This is what is killing the country. People come here, take public money, and then go and give it to people in the church and treasure, and they say it's God's wish, and start giving them title in the church, title in this. That is what we are fighting. That's what we want to stop. We want God's wish to be truly God's wish. And that is when we do the right things and God gives his blessing. What we are doing now is why they call. What do you tell the young ones growing up? That it's God's wish that you steal? That it's God's wish that you conduct a wrong election? So tell me the difference between those of us who are doing this and the armed robbers. What is the difference between us and the trained robbers? Let's be sincere with ourselves. That's why it's God's wish that somebody came to your station and said he knows a governor who have 22 billion naira stacked, and nobody's asking about him. But we're stopping young people who are carrying computer and questioning them and calling them names. That's not God's wish. God wishes something better. What I want is God to allow us to do the right things so we can start building a better country for our children.
All right. Peter Obi still remains a shining star for most people. His ideas and approach to governance and politics have not changed. The cardinal virtues I mentioned are what direct his thought, word, and deed. Those who have changed are the ones who did not fully grasp the essence of the obedient movement. They are the ones who have fallen away, and they are well fallen. You are listening to Diaspora Digital Media. If you like my videos, do ensure you hit the like button, share my videos, make your comments, and then subscribe to the Diaspora Digital Media for more exciting things. From me, I am Tochko Raphael. Have a nice day.